Hey guys, Kyle the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for My Hero Academia Chapter 172, and we take a break from Gentle this week to focus in on in Class 1A and what they're doing. And I feel that one of the biggest strengths in this chapter was that it showed just how well Class 1A can work off of each other, like how everyone was basically shown how they can contribute to the concert. And did you and the best and like how each of their talents, how each of their quirks can is definitely going to be a benefit in terms of this concert, and how each one can contribute something to the cause. And did you notice something about this chapter when the roles were being picked? Izuku, the thing to note about this chapter is that the thing I'm talking about, of course, is that Izuku wasn't like on the band. He wasn't in the main group. He was in the dancer squad, and that is still an important role, mind you. But it's one of those things where, yeah, Horikoshi, it's like, yeah, I think it's like one of those things where Izuku's on the dance troupe, and I think it actually shows that Horikoshi is committed to having Jiro front and center in this arc. Although, I guess we'll have to wait and see what'll happen, if that'll remain the case when I think it was when I think it's Gentle and his sidekick make their appearance. Like that's gonna be interesting as to if Izuku's gonna steal the spotlight again, or if Jiro's gonna end up taking the stage with that one. And it's like, yeah, I feel that I feel that it shows that Horikoshi is committed to in order to having Jiro part of this arc. And I I almost wonder if he's actually if Horikoshi is actually paying attention to is actually paying attention to the character pulls, or if he's just doing his own thing and he's not caring too much about the character pulls. He just wants to write his story the way he wants to. So I don't know. I guess we'll just have to. I don't know, but yeah. Either way, I'm loving the spotlight that Horikoshi is definitely shining on Jiro and all these other characters. And yeah, he's definitely making a smart move, but basically having, but I think I think in a way that the way Horikoshi has done it in a way is that with this whole concert setup is that he's presenting in a way where or there really isn't any small parts either, so everyone is gonna have their time to shine. It's just with the band, I feel they're gonna be the biggest to shine, and since it isn't made up of anyone in the main cast, those characters are gonna get their biggest time to shine, of course. Um, Also, I really like the idea at the beginning of this chapter of using Eijiro, Todoroki, and Aoyama as a crystal ball and light show. It was because it was both creative but also kind of hilarious just in the way Mina described it. Although the one thing to like, I know it was played up for comedy and whatnot, but I do kind of worry about how this is going to affect Aoyama. Like, is him having to use his quirk constantly gonna end up like kind of worsening it for him? Because Aoyama made it pretty specific that he can only use his quirk only a specific amount of times before his power starts leaking out and getting out of control. So yeah, I'm hoping that isn't Horikoshi's very subtle way of foreshadowing that Aoyama's power is gonna get out of control here. That's my biggest fear right now. Um and but that's all well and good. But the main, but yeah, the biggest, but that wasn't even the biggest, most epic part of the chapter. The big the big stuff happened when the chapter revealed that Izuku was taking another step forward in controlling One for All, and we get a reveal here that honestly makes a whole lot more sense than it should looking back on the series, which is that All Might never used 100% of his power until the moments when he needed it, which in its own way does actually answer the question of how All Might has avoided breaking his body, especially when you remember that his hero form was just one giant costume. And I think this kind of I think that was I think the main purpose behind that was basically in order to clarify the difference between All Might and Izuku, and why Izuku keeps breaking his body every time, where All Might has constantly avoided it. Had constantly avoided in the past. So yeah, I feel that whole thing, it was meant as a nice bit of clarification to say, yes, that this is the gap, this is how wide the gap between All Might and Izuku are, and this is the reason as to why All Might has been able to avoid breaking his body constantly. I think we also need to remember that I think it was that All Might had of course his teacher. I think it was Nana Shimura, who was probably training him constantly, and she probably drilled it into his head as to how to properly use One for All. So yeah, it's I think it also is comparable. It is nice to compare. It is interesting to compare. It's interesting to compare All Might and Nana together. That Nana, like, we don't know anything about the training All Might had to endure under Nana and Gran Torino, but I assume that Nana definitely was a lot more thorough in his training, and he taught All Might like the true understanding of how to use One for All, and especially since you're pretty much a quirkless, and I wonder if this is the kind of thing that only applies to those that are quirkless, because it really would make you curious if these same rules would definitely apply if One for All was combined with another quirk or not. Because yeah, you think you would have someone with a quirk would have kind of a better mastery of One for All, but yeah, it is an interesting thought for sure. And the other thing to note is that this whole training is going to be the start of Izuku creating a long-range attack for himself, which sounds simple, but this chapter very heavily dropped the possible bombshell that Izuku might start using his arms again, and I'm not sure what to think about that. I mean, the next level of control sounds simple, but this has to be done in a way where his injuries and limitations are still a factor. Like, I really don't want... My main problem going forward with this is that I'm really hoping that... I have faith in Horikoshi, I do, and I hope he takes into account the fact that Izuku's hand has been through so much shit already that even using it improperly could basically end up with him destroying it at this point. Like, Izuku needs to be just goddamn careful at this point and just don't break anything. And that's, like, I have faith in Horikoshi that he will take this factor into account, but like the only way, it's one of those things where when you factor in what Izuku's hand has been through, and what's currently kind of on the table of basically how where Izuku is at this point, the only way I can see this going is that the long range attack will be something where Izuku can use the technique maybe once with his arm, and only once with his arm, but possibly a lot more with his with his legs, like, because of course when we pretty much see Izuku using the long range attack in this chapter, we basically see him initially using it by kicking the air. So I think what it is going to be is that Izuku's whole thing is going to still be Izuku's long range attack is still going to be more focused on kicking than punching. But I think him punching will still come into effect. It's just he'll probably be using one a lot more than the other. I think I think how it's gonna work is if he uses a punch, he'll probably only be able to use it once. But if he uses kicks, he'll probably be able to do it like I want to say 2 or 3 times, maybe something like that. That's kind of my guess on that. But yeah, um, because yeah, his legs are still his main. His whole shoot style is still focused on his legs. So I want to assume that's how it's gonna go. Um, so apparently, aside from being a perv, Mineta also loves breaking the fourth wall, because that's exactly what he did by saying he can't play the guitar because he was designed, his character design was meant to be short. Like, okay, that's probably more Horikoshi breaking the fourth wall than Mineta, but Mineta, Horikoshi's just loving to use Mineta as his fourth wall breaker. Like, seriously, that shit was hilarious. Although, seriously, I am rather concerned and slightly disturbed, yet concerned and slightly curious at the same time as to what's going to be involved in this whole harem job that he was assigned by Mina. Like, I want to assume it's getting groupies together. I don't know, but yeah, you put Mineta in a job that involves him getting a harem of girls together. That's just asking for trouble. But yeah. But yeah, guys, that's my review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter and Facebook. To the notify me, signing off. Later, guys.